G'day, HMR here, to address a comment on the video I did, what's it called? Borderlines Don't Love, Codependent Denial and Projection of, quote, BPD Love, unquote. And yeah, it's from somebody who has BPD, and oh, wow. They don't, and I guess, what is it right now? 6 people like their comment, so, yeah, I've been seeing a lot more messages lately that are pretty, trolly on the part of people with BPD, so there you go. I guess somehow they think that's going to, that's them taking responsibility, or somehow they think that's some of these people with BPD, that they think that's the right thing to do or something. Anyway, so this person, Rasmus, says, the way you talk about people with BPD is very condescending and dehumanizing. Really? Have you checked out other channels, Rasmus? Because I take great care here to provide information for those hurt by people with BPD, but also if people with BPD are ready to hear the truth and take personal responsibility, they too can learn and grow from my videos. I have many people with BPD that I work with as clients. So I'm not here to dehumanize or condescend to anyone. But of course, this is how you feel, right, Rasmus? So why don't you take responsibility for your own feelings? Because I'm not responsible for your feelings. And then you said, it does more harm than good for someone with BPD listening to you. Then why are you listening to me? Triggered? Can't hack it? Don't take personal responsibility for yourself? Need to leave a comment like this, like you're the ultimate, aw, poor you. Get into treatment and stand up for yourself and learn, figure out who you are and go forward. Get into your own healing and recovery journey rather than just whining about what you feel, what you probably don't even think, but more to the point, what you feel that I'm doing that is so, doing more harm than good for someone with BPD listening to me. Because guess what? Just because you have BPD, you don't get to talk for all people with BPD, because not all people with BPD come to my channel and do an aw, poor me like you're doing, frankly. And then Rasmus says, for people with BPD listening to you, at least for me. Okay, well, that suggests then that you need to be listening to people with BPD on YouTube who can validate you all day long in the narrative of, oh, poor me, I have BPD, unquote. Because that seems to be your narrative. Nothing I can do to help you with that. And like I said, check out other channels and see what they're saying, if you think I'm bad. And then they say, don't you have anything, Rasmus says, don't you have anything else, anything better to do than posting videos like these all day? That's right. I just post them all day. I don't do anything else. If I posted them all day and didn't do anything else, there'd be like millions of them by now. Point is, this video is aimed at people with codependency. You may have that along with having BPD, but I don't recall, I don't know you, Rasmus. I didn't make you watch the video. I bet you nobody tied you down and made you watch the video or listen to the video. So that's your responsibility, man, not mine. And do you have nothing better to do than complain and whine like a person with BPD that can't take responsibility for themselves and may well not be in therapy? Is that all you have to do all day? Feel condescended to? Believe that anybody who tells the truth about BPD, and I don't do it without empathy, etc., anybody that tells the truth about most people, and I did say untreated or suspected BPD. So, if you're somebody in BPD with treatment, then, well, it isn't working by the nature of this comment. But otherwise, I'm not talking about all people with BPD. So why don't you worry about what you have to do all day? Not what I do all day, which isn't videos all day, but seriously, dude. And then Rasmus goes on to say, How about contributing with something good in your videos? Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The dichotomist, this isn't good, therefore this is bad. Congratulations, Rasmus. Your BPD is really showing. Some good in my videos. Well, I think a lot of people disagree with you that there's a lot of good in my videos. Even people, other people with BPD. So how do you explain that one? Not all, but other people with BPD. So anyway, then you said, trying to help. So something good in my videos, trying to help instead of spreading hate. I'm not spreading hate. Like, wow, there's that dichotomy again. Obviously you aren't ready to hear what I have to say. So maybe get into some treatment, take some personal responsibility, try to find yourself, try to do some of that emotional growing up. Then maybe in 5 or 10 years, you can come back and listen to these videos and you won't think that it's just spreading hate. This is the BPD narrative on steroids out there. Ooh, don't talk about them. Got to validate them. You know what, Rasmus? We don't all have to take responsibility for you. Nobody does. You're not responsible for you. I'm certainly not. I don't know who you are in the world, but this is classic, typical BPD, quote, poor me on your part. And he said, spreading hate, because that is exactly what you're doing. Oh, really, Rasmus? Because you say so. It is so, right? A little bit of magical thinking dropped in there too, because Rasmus says I'm spreading hate, and therefore that's what I'm doing. It doesn't sound like the magical thinking of BPD, does it? Yup, it absolutely is. You have a right to your opinion, dude, but like, why whine all over here? Like, why don't you just not watch a channel? Nobody's making you do it, right? And you're telling me what I'm doing. Boy, no context as to whether you're in treatment or what are you doing besides whining here. What are you doing? And you said your view of people with BPD is disgusting. Oh, wow. Got triggered, did you? Got wounded, did you? Not by me. You know, it's disgusting, is it? Then, well, hey. And 6 people, if you hit 1 like, let's say 5 people agree with you. I'm sure many more than that agree with you, but guess what? They probably just don't bother with my channel. This channel is really not geared for people with BPD, but there's a playlist for people with BPD. And so I don't know what to tell you, but this is a right, proper borderline personality disordered point of view you're spewing here. And is that something to be proud of? Because you don't sound like anyone. If you are in therapy, it's not working well, or you're not in therapy. So why don't you take responsibility for how you feel instead of, it doesn't matter to me what you say, because it's all about you, man. It's all about you. And I'm spreading. What was the other thing you said? I'm spreading hate, and for people with BPD. And it's very condescending and dehumanizing. Wow, you give me a lot of power, Rasmus. Why is that? Do I remind you of your mommy or your daddy? Because, this is like, seriously, you are commenting here to say whatever you need to say, okay. But more to the point, you put yourself squarely in the little childlike, quote, poor me role. And what do you want me to do about it? I mean, I have already expressed, if you'd watched any other videos of mine, there's a playlist for people with BPD. And I've already expressed that my heart is heavy for people with BPD because I see both sides and I work with clients on both sides. I guess that's like a paradox you can't appreciate when you're dichotomous, when your thinking is dichotomous and all good, all bad, all black, all white, in the middle of borderline personality, right? So that's not a fun place to be. It's a very painful place to be. But to this commenter and anybody else with BP that wants to bother with this kind of narrative, you're just forwarding your own. You're just showing, again, you're showing us who a lot of people with BPD still are. And I don't see how that's to your credit, but more to the point, I'm not responsible for how you feel. I'm not responsible for what you think, but I think you're feeling more than thinking. And the magical thinking that because you say I'm doing something, it's what I'm doing. Seriously. You might want to get a grip on that sense of little wee grandiosity within BPD, because that's what that is. So, to people with BPD, they're not all the same, right? So there's maybe tons or millions that don't watch my channel. Okay, well then that might be a healthy choice for them if they get triggered like Rasmus here, right? So I guess Rasmus likes to subject himself, or more importantly, subject others to himself. Well, I mean, glad I'm not in your life, dude. And what you say doesn't matter. What you think doesn't matter. How you feel doesn't matter. Because you're coming from this place, capital B, right? And the point is, I'm not doing anything that you think I'm doing. But if that's what you think if that's what you're misperceiving I'm doing, that's what's going to be real for you. And then the next step for you, don't watch my videos if that's how you feel. But beyond that, what are you doing in therapy? What are you going to do to help yourself to be able to break out of the childlike narrative and the magical thinking and the dichotomous thinking that you displayed here? Because, you're not my responsibility, Rasmus. You're your own responsibility. Did you get that yet? So anyway, and I love that 5 people agreed with you. Well, I guess they may, well, who knows, but maybe they didn't have the conviction of their, quote, poor me to just project out what you just projected out, so this is the unfortunate part for people with BPD who obviously, even if he's in therapy, it's not working well enough yet, or that wouldn't happen. I'm just saying. So people with BPD expecting everyone else to tiptoe around how they feel, tiptoe around what they don't like, tiptoe around what they're going to say is, oh, it's condescending, it's full of hate, it's whatever. Well, get more treatment, get more therapy, stand up to your personal responsibility instead of blaming me for how you feel. I'm not responsible for how you feel. And more to the point, I have a lot of empathy for people with BPD, so I don't want to say I don't care at all. But in terms of the way you approach me, there's nothing there that would make me want to put forth much effort to, in a way that would be, caretaking for you? Enabling you to believe your own nonsense? No thanks. That's what people with BPD do to people all day long. You think I make videos all day long? Or you like whining like this all day long? People with BPD gotta wake up. People with BPD that haven't woken up. People with BPD that aren't in treatment, that is working, that you are committed to. I think I seriously almost want to say, at the end of the day, who really wants to hear you? If you're not working on yourself and this is the best you can come up with, probably nobody in your life wants to hear you. I don't know if you're in therapy or not, but if you are, you haven't got enough treatment by a long shot yet. And so, I'm just doing this video back to this commenter to just illustrate, as if people need it illustrated, that this is what forwards BPD stigma. And the way they behave and the way they take no responsibility, and you're doing this and you're doing that. Oh, really? I'm just a YouTuber out here, saying what I have to say, and nobody has to watch if they don't like it. So anyway, I think I've said all I can. But this is a typical sort of entitled attitude of somebody trying to overcompensate very much for being triggered by a video of mine. Where they've been for the other 564 up until now. This will be 565. 566, whatever I just said. It will be 566, this video. Where have they been for the rest of them? Have they Rasmus, have you looked at the playlist for people with BPD? Have you looked at the odd video I've done that aren't as old as those, that, last couple of years, 3 years or so, the odd video that I do that can really help people with BPD? Have you looked at my website? And I'm not going to say it out for you, but I have a website online that has ebooks for people who are non-borderline and for people with BPD. It has audio programs. I'm out here working with people with BPD in a professional capacity to help them to not have to do what you did out of your magical thinking and stuff. So, the onus is on each and every single person with BPD to get treatment and take responsibility for their own feelings. Now, this is somebody who isn't taking responsibility for their own feelings in the comment. And more to the point, the video is aimed at people with, well, he might be, codependent with the BPD too, but it's aimed at people with codependency. And out of all the videos I've done, here he is. Cute. Anyway, it's sad, really, the narrative that so many with BPD are in, that even when you take the time to say suspected of or untreated, maybe he is untreated and that might hurt. I don't know, trigger him or something. But I didn't hurt him. I didn't say anything hateful about people with BPD, nor do I here. And I don't vilify, and I don't think that they're less than human, but they just can't stop. Not all, but many can't stop this. So what's that really say about their choices? What's that really say about where they're not taking personal responsibility? I think it says boatloads, unfortunately. So if you happen to see this, Rasmus, maybe if you really think about what I said, it could help you. But otherwise, if you're feeling triggered, as you obviously were, and then you need to, somewhat lash out, you need more therapy, dude. So what are you doing? And, are you behaving like this to people in your life? Because if you are, you need to figure out what that's like for people. Like for me, it's a comment, it's whatever. But I think it's worth addressing simply because I'm not here to take your crap. I don't have to take it. I don't want to take it. It's not mine. I don't own it. You do. So why don't you either keep it to yourself, go elsewhere, or more to the point, get your behind in therapy that matters, and it will help you change this childlike narrative of yours. Yeah, so that's that. Typical BPD, and I don't like to say that because typical BPD is what's hurting so many other people. But here it is again in another iteration of what about me, says Rasmus, and how dare you because you are doing this and that and the other thing. And probably in there somewhere, though we didn't express it, is, and this isn't fair. Because at the bottom of things like this said by people with BPD, like not all, but this dude I'm talking about right now, is, the quote, poor me, meaning poor him, and a lack of personal responsibility and personal accountability. So you want to come on my channel here and you have BPD and you want to comment like that, well, you started out disrespectfully and then some, so I'm definitely not going to be warm and fuzzy for you because I'm not going to take on what you said, and I'm not going to hold your feelings for you because that's what people with BPD are doing to like all the people in their lives if they're untreated or, undiagnosed. But you have BPD, Rasmus, so what are you doing about getting therapy so that you can understand what I'm saying right now and know that this was a bit of a faux pas for an adult? If you were really in a, quote, adult space, which I take it you're not because of the magical thinking and the projective nature of your statements and the way that so many people with BPD hold to the narrative that you just espoused. So go get some help, man, and take care of yourself and learn that you're responsible for how you feel. People on YouTube say stuff all day, and it doesn't matter what they say. It's like it's only about you if you make it about you, number one, and your strong feelings back toward me. Well, those feelings have nothing to do with me. They're triggered by something else, and more to the point, they're this person, Rasmus, with BPD, they're your problem. They're your issue. They're what you need to take care of. I just want to make it clear that I'm not going to take on your feelings. I'm not holding on to your feelings. So at the end of the day, in a way, Rasmus, without sounding, I don't lack empathy for people with BPD, but this is rather acting out. And so to that, I would say, I'm not taking it on. Who cares? Like, who cares? Because you're just being, the capital B, poor me, BPD.